start now. Morning, ladies. Okay, thanks very much. This is our observation record, and during this session, what we're just trying to prove is that orally you've acquired the knowledge to meet the assessment criteria 2.1 through to 2.5. And to prove that, what we're going to do is just going to flick between yourselves, and you're going to give me your individualised answers to these pre-prepared questions. So you've gone away, you've researched, you've got some evidence, and it's all right. You've got some evidence, and you're now ready to start to give me your impression and your personal observation on the questions. So we'll look at 2.1 first of all, which is analyse the importance of effective management of health and safety by the public services. Let's start with you, Hannah. In terms of the legislation requirements, what legislation requirements did you pick up with that the public services had to comply with?
The first one I picked up was RIDDOR, where they have to have certain kinds of equipment and certain things in place. So if there was, say, a disease or something, they have to report it straight back to the management.
So reporting. What? Anything else, Lauren?
I got the personal protective equipment.
Yeah.
Health and safety at work at 1974. Health and safety at work at 1999.
Can you give me a little bit of explanation what the health and safety at work at 74 covers?
It covers. It covers the risk assessments. So each employer, for every activity or training they do, they have to come up with a risk assessment to show the different kind of areas that may have risks. They won't think of everything, but they'll think of the main ones, and then they'll show different ways.
What else have we? What other legislative requirements have we got there? So Lauren mentioned the management of health and safety. 99.
She showed PPE.
It is about PPE, specifically about PPE. Lauren, have you got anything else in the legislative requirements that needs to be covered?
To make sure that they do assess and manage risks.
Okay, and which legislation is that covered
That's
in?
Management of Health and Safety at Work Regulations 1999.
99, good. Okay. Okay, we're moving on. So, explain why compliance is important. Now, I want you to bring out ethical, moral, financial considerations. So, we'll start with you, Hannah.
Compliance is important because this is what protects the workers at work. It makes workers efficient, completing their jobs. Managers are more ethically bound to provide the correct equipment and the correct training needing for each piece of equipment. So there's no one on a piece of equipment they don't know what they're doing. So there'll be no injuries.
All right, just stop there. Lauren, can you continue?
They need to always be aware financially. The public services always get a reduce in budget each year.
Good point, yeah.
That employers need to be ethically and morally bound to prove they are good employers, and how they conduct themselves to others.
Yeah.
They need to prove that all staff and workers have done the correct training and risk assessments have been completed.
Okay, and why is that important, that compliance then, in terms of the risk assessments, etc., that you said there? Why is that important?
That you're following the health and safety regulations.
And does it have implications if you don't then? Hannah, what sort of implications do you think it has if you didn't follow this?
If they didn't follow it, there'd be more injuries because there'd be, there wouldn't be any safety precautions involved, and there could be a high staff turnover because they wouldn't want to work them.
Exactly, yeah. When we talk about financial compliance, a reason behind complying because there's a financial reason, what could happen if you didn't comply in terms of financial?
You could be sued, fined.
Yeah, exactly that.
You could have
imprisoned.
Good, excellent. Okay, moving on then, it says, it goes on to talk about what financial implications may the uniform services have if they fail to comply. So let's build on that last answer. So what financial implications in particular? We'll start with you, Hannah.
They could get a 20k or upwards fine if they do not follow them. and the person who was injured can get compensation
Good.
for their
Okay.
injury if the manager can't show that he was reasonably
Good.
got all the reasonable practical.
So in terms of that, Lauren, did you get any different figures or?
Kind of the same. They may be fined or sued by the person
Mm.
injured unless they show they've done everything reasonably
Yeah.
practicable.
Yeah.
Risk assessments play an important part
Important part.
important part in evidence for accidents. It shows the likeliness of the accident, which means they can reduce the likeliness of an incident happening.
But going back to the sort of financial implication, did you pick up? Did you give me find examples of anybody being sued, etc.?
No.
No. Anything for you, Hannah? No. So we'll come back to that then. Yeah. Okay. Moving down then. So it says explain why compliance is important. So let's build on that last answer. Remember, this is compliance in terms of the management of health and safety, i.e. the risk assessment. Why is that of importance?
In the UPS, in the Uniform Public Service, following laws and orders is kind of the main part of it.
Yeah.
It's what helps if there is a risk assessment and it's got all the relevant information on it. It's the job of the individual to kind of look at them and listen to them and actually do what they're ordered to do, because if they didn't, then there could be serious consequences, like someone could get killed if they went on their own or they didn't have the correct PPE.
Good, yeah. So we've mainly concentrated there on ethical and moral reasons. Lauren, can you pick up on sort of financial reasons why it's important to comply to risk assessment within the management of health and safety?
I kind of got more on compliance training. This goes in with the financial. Compliance training needs to be issued to every employee according to companies' policies and guidelines to show the perception of employees that are being looked after for their safety. Harassment and discrimination have been two main points that have come up regularly in court when somebody's being sued.
Yeah. Good.
By following compliance, most serious situations can be avoided. Risk assessments are important as they reduce the cost of injury and the cost of legislation.
Good, which is what the Act is trying to enforce. Well done.
It is important as it makes the organisation and workers comply with their legal duty of the Health and Safety Work Act 1974.
Good, well done. So two quite individual responses there. In terms of evidence, have you got any evidence or examples?
We've both got the same website. It was a HSE website, and it was about investigating incidents and accidents.
And that's a publication PDF document by the Health and Safety Executive, yeah? So a credible source, yeah? Okay. Right, so 2.2, Lauren.
Can we just double check if that is recording? Because I swear I heard it.
No, it's still on.
Is it actually
We're
recording?
going at 9 minutes.
Right, that's
still,
fine then.
still cracking on.
No, do that. Let's check.
2.2. Explain responsibilities of the public service for health and safety. So we're looking at the legal responsibilities in regard to individuals here. So what is it the individuals have got to do? If you want to kick me off, Lauren.
Individuals need to be aware of the risks at the workplace, and if any injuries or accidents or diseases occur, they need to be reported. From any risk to a large risk to a really small risk, it definitely needs to be reported to management.
Okay. What was the legal framework that made them report?
We do.
Well done. We do. Carry on,
We do,
please.
yeah.
Well done.
They need to make sure that they wear the PPE, personal protective equipment, so they protect themselves. This reduces the chance of uncertainty. Make sure they follow instructions.
Okay, just stop there, Laura, and moving over to Hannah. Anything additional to that there that you've got?
I think I got the same as Lauren, except I put examples for PPE and where they should be worn.
Okay, good. Can you tell me what they were?
For PPE, I've got, if you're working in a dangerous area with things either that could fall on you or heavy objects, then steel-toe cap boots, gloves and helmets need to be worn.
And which public service in particular?
Army.
Army or and?
Fire or
Fire.
police.
Good. Okay. Lauren, you had additional examples as well?
Yeah, it was just firemen wearing PPE to protect themselves in a situation.
Okay, I've got one thing for you to consider, Hannah, just as an additional topic. When an employee, an individual there is thinking about their own health and safety, I would suggest that it's important that individual carries out the job that they've been briefed to do, using the processes that they've been shown and trained to do. They don't mess about, they do it effectively as possible. Can you explain to me why that is important, that the employee does as they're requested?
If they weren't, and if they weren't listening to the brief, or if they weren't listening to any of the information that was given to them about the job, then they could put not only themselves but someone else in risk that was near them.
Okay.
If they're being silly or not actually doing the job properly, then they could knock something over or drop a piece of equipment and it could injure someone else.
I've got a question for you now, Lauren. I mean, in terms of this, it's really important that employees think about different ways of doing things. We think about innovation in different ways, because sometimes things can be more efficient if we do them different ways, not in the old way. How can we get round this need to want to find better ways to do things and yet still comply with the way we've been told to do something? So how would you go about maybe suggesting to an employee that they look for different ways, but at the same time they don't fall foul of the Health and Safety at Work Act?
Talk to the employer, because cooperating with the employer is like a key thing.
Yeah.
And obviously making sure that individual understands the health and safety policy.
Yeah, yeah.
Also from the other employers and employees working together to help
Yeah, so I mean,
each other really.
yeah, good. So I mean, coming up with like focus groups about, if we're going to look at a different way of doing something, coming up with a focus group, yeah.
Focus groups, meetings.
Yeah, suggesting different ways.
Yeah.
But not actually doing them until
It's been tested
it's been
and risk
tested.
assessed.
Exactly, well done. Okay, moving down to the next question, which was state the legal responsibilities under the Health and Safety at Work Act that organisations have. So Anna, can you kick me off on what organisations have got to do to comply with the Health and Safety at Work Act, please?
They've got to come up with risk assessments for every single thing they do.
Yeah.
They have to put in place, if it comes on the risk assessment, they have to put in place safety measures
Yeah, good.
for each section to eliminate risks. And the manager has to make sure that he's done everything reasonably practical to
Good.
make sure it's safe for the workers.
So explain the term reasonably practicable to me, please.
Reasonably practicable is the organisation have done everything in their power to reduce the risk towards employees or even the public, even though all the risk cannot be eliminated.
That's truth, yeah.
This can include training to employers, risk assessments,
Yeah.
making people aware like signs, etc. And just make sure that all accidents that have happened are being recorded and proved.
Okay, have you got anything more on that, Anna, to add to that reasonably practical explanation?
Going on the reason that Lauren gave about having to keep them, every risk assessment and every incident that happens in that workplace has to be logged and kept by the manager to show the health and safety officer, or if there's an injury,
Good.
show the person who's compensating them to show that they did put everything
Good.
they could. to-
Like an audit trail. Yeah. I mean, the last sort of question we've got there in that block is explain which health and safety regs place responsibility on employers oh, sorry, employee